An adorable alien stranded on Earth makes best friends with a 10-year-old boy.
Because this week we're doing E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, directed by Steven Spielberg. This is a film where it is just an experience. The longer it goes away, that memory of why it's so good starts to fade away. And I feel like that's partly why I've just not bothered to revisit it. There's no real key moments I particularly remember or think about. It's just the feeling the film gives you. It's such a fucking perfect Spielbergian sort of film where it's all about the emotion. It's all about the feelings. It's all about family values. It's all about the kind of shit that usually can make for a lame movie. But Spielberg's got that amazing talent of perfecting, in my belief, the hardest genre to get right, which is the genuine family-friendly film. A timeless classic that literally you can enjoy from any age. It's nearly impossible to get it right. And, you know, you can do it. You can make something that's going to make some money because fucking kids want to go see it and the parents hate it. But to actually make a film that really resonates with any age and ends up going on the longest theatrical cinema run of all time and being the most successful film of all time, only until Spielberg knocked himself off his own record with Jurassic Park 10 years later. It's just exceptional. And you've got all the ingredients for a fucking incredible film. Spielberg directing, John Williams doing the score. It's about aliens. It's about a family with a dad that's not around like in every single Spielberg film. It's him in his absolute prime. It's just got everything.
I have seen this maybe even more than 20 times. I've rewatched it again and I just sat down with that real childhood memory of it. Transported me back into, I think the whole family legit watched it. I would put this up there as in my top 10 films, at how highly I rate it. I don't think, Declan, there's a scene that isn't perfect or near perfect. Every single scene contributes to the story and not once does it drag on. He was just in his element in this. You talked about the John Williams score, the way it builds up in certain scenes, the way it's quieter in emotional scenes, that blaring trumpet horn section.
At the same time as he was making this film, he was basically secretly directing Poltergeist, which makes it both films an even more impressive accomplishment. But it's interesting as well because they're kind of like the yin and yang of each other. Poltergeist is about the suburban nightmare and E.T. is the suburban dream. Everything about this film is whimsical. From the opening scenes where we see the spaceship landed and all the E.T.s going about their business, collecting plants. The spaceship itself, the designer, he only had one line in the screenplay to go by. He said the spaceship resembles something out of a Dr. Seuss book. And that's what this film is. A fairy tale written in the modern age. And instead of fairies, it's discovering an alien who's stranded on his planet. You know, that scene where he first lures him up with Reese's Pieces. Yeah, which incidentally, M&M's was initially approached, but they turned it down because they thought E.T. was too ugly and he'd scare children. And apparently Reese's Pieces sales absolutely surged after its involvement in this film. It's a very subtle moment where it first, I didn't realise it obviously first viewings, but it establishes in that scene the fact that they've formed their telepathic connection in that moment, because he starts to become tired and E.T. immediately starts to become tired and starts to drift off. And part of me wonders, before E.T. came to this planet and formed a connection with Elliot, I mean, does his species even need to sleep? Like, I wonder if he ever needed to sleep. And from that moment forward, I love the concept that Elliot and E.T. have this telepathic connection and they're going to experience each other's emotions. When E.T. accidentally opens an umbrella and freaks out, Elliot drops the milk in another room, but he doesn't even know why, but he just knows that he's scared. When E.T.'s having his little day at home and he's drinking beer, and I never clocked that the first couple of times I watched it as well, that he's getting drunk.
It switches to Henry in the school and he's like getting
he starts freeing all the frogs, and then without even understanding why, he reenacts that romantic scene in the movie E.T.'s watching with that little girl, which was fucking awesome. I was like, I wish I'd done that in class when I was a little kid. I love E.T. and we were watching it and I was just commented at one point that he shouldn't be cute. He's hideous. The puppet designers supposedly designed him based on a combination of a pug dog and Albert Einstein. And I don't even find pug dogs cute, let alone Albert Einstein. But somehow E.T., combination of the amazing puppetry work, you know, sometimes it was a little 2 foot tall actor, other times it was a child that was born without their legs, and also, you know, brilliant animatronics on the puppet. combined with the voice actor, which was, I can't remember the name of the actress, but she was some old woman who apparently smoked like 100 cigarettes a day, and it somehow that comes together to make it makes sense when you think about it. E.T.'s little voice is like Elliot. Yeah, it's someone's nan, like, who smokes a lot. All that somehow comes together with Spielberg's genius, and it just works. And E.T. is fucking adorable. Like, you love E.T. I'm fucking gutted when he's like little sick later, and he's on the lying on the bathroom floor.
I actually watched two versions of this, two cuts, because I love it that much. By the way, I watched the normal one, and they released the 20th anniversary special cut.
And what was different?
In the original cut, Spielberg was mulling over it, and he didn't like some of the scenes with the animatronics in it. He thought it didn't quite cut the grade, so he changed it around a bit. He had other stuff, and he like improved either. You wouldn't see the same scene when an animatronic, you can clearly see it's an animatronic, and he's changed it up, so it looks fresher. Obviously this is a 20th anniversary edition, so they've coloured it a lot better, the sound is a lot better, but the animatronics was the main change. I thought it was personally okay in the original version.
How do you feel about just doing that in general, going back and changing film? The George Lucas treatment.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm fucking disgusted by it.
I don't personally like it. I mean, it's not like they've changed entire scenes. It's just little cosmetic things. When you've seen the film so many times, the original version, I didn't really like it. I'm not going to lie. I prefer the original. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's sentiment.
Do you think Da Vinci went back to the fucking Sistine Chapel and was like, oh, let me just touch up the face, actually, let me make that guy in the background have better abs? It's a time capsule of what it was like back then. Like, you shouldn't go back and fuck with your movie. Just, it's in the world now.
Spielberg's probably seen this numerous times. He's probably on the cutting floor as well, saying stuff. He's a director. This becomes such a loved film. If he sees something he doesn't like, and he's the director, he can more or less do what he wants. If he approaches the distributors and was like, I want to change a few things for a 20th anniversary special edition, dollar signs in their eyes, like, yes, of course, Mr. Spielberg.
Yeah, I mean, to a show of his powers, the fact that he said he didn't want the film to go to VHS because he felt like this is supposed to be a family experience. He wants it to be like The Wizard of Oz, going to see it as a family in the cinema was a childhood experience an entire generation would talk about years later. And Universal actually just did it. Didn't have to contractually, just, I guess, didn't want to piss off Spielberg. Please keep making films with us. And they honoured it, and they didn't release it on VHS for, I think, over a decade. It ended up being one of the most pirated films of all time, so it kind of backfired because people were still seeing it at home, but just in a really bad format. But, just goes to show the power he has. But going back to what you were saying about changing things, I have this theory. You have an idea in your head of this is what it's going to be, and then what you want it to be combined with the factors that are working against what you want it to be, and then also combines with the other people that you're having to collaborate with. All those things combine to what it actually is. And sometimes I feel like directors don't necessarily even understand always what makes them appealing. George Romero, absolute legend, love him. Made some awful films towards the end of his career. Doesn't take anything away from the great films he made. But one of the things he started doing towards the end of his years in his films was using CGI blood. And I hated it, but it's whatever. Okay, whatever. But I saw a quote in an interview where he said, he loves the CGI blood rather than the squibs because you don't have to bother setting up with the squibs. And it's like, does he not realise how much of the visual aesthetic of what is appealing about his films is in that practical effect? And it's the same thing here so this film was one of the most successful films of all time, E.T. And at the heart of it is the fact that this weird looking Einstein pug puppet is adorable and everyone likes him. So your decision is, let me change it. It obviously wasn't right in the first place, so I need to go in and change it. Maybe the dodgy puppetry is what made it appealing. I like his little jerky movements when he's nodding about. I like the fact that I can tell when his head extends whenever someone comes into the room. He does that little surprised face. I like the fact I can basically tell that's a puppet with some gears that are going back and forth. Don't change it. Why would you want to change it? Jaws, if he had had his way, you would have seen fuckloads of the shark the whole time. So, a lot of the time it's these things that accidentally happen are the reason the film's good in the first place.
And I think going back to this, I honestly believe that whatever you see first will be the best. I've seen every single cut of Blade Runner. The first one I saw was the final cut, yeah? And then I've seen the 2 alternative cuts, and I'm like, I just can't watch them. So like, if Blade Runner's on and it's one of the alternative cuts with the ending I don't like, because I saw the director's cut first, I'm like, nah, I refuse to watch this. You know what I mean? We all probably watched this when we was young first, and it's kind of like, if you change it, you're fucking with our childhood.
Yeah, there's a weird ownership you nearly have over it, like what he said he wanted, a shared childhood memory for a whole generation, and he didn't want it to go to VHS. Well, don't go fuck with our memory that's shared. It's your property to fuck with. No one can really deny you that. But even the things you don't like about it, that is what makes it what it is. Accept the flaws in it. The main kid is great. Supposedly he was in his audition, he was doing one of the emotional scenes, I'm not sure which one, and he started thinking about the day his dog died. Apparently he nailed it and Spielberg gave it to him on the spot. Spielberg has a habit of embellishing stories, but never let the truth get in the way of a good story, so whatever, we'll just believe him on that. But I think all the kids did really good, and I have a theory that a good director should get out of the way of a great adult actor, or just provide him the right environment, talk to him a lot beforehand of what he thinks about the role, but then just more or less get out of his way. Obviously different directors will have more hands-on approach, some will completely just trust them, but I think child actors, the performance needs to be guided, because generally kids are either hyper and being obnoxious or very docile and observing and kind of like just got a gormless look on their face, and that is what the kids feel like a lot of the time. They're all very believable. They feel believable as a family. They're not constantly shitting on each other and arguing, but they're not all lovey-dovey either. It feels like a real family, and the mum is banging as well.
Spielberg's good at coaxing performances out of child actors. He done like loads of stuff, like he wasn't telling them this is going to happen, so all the reactions are real. He's quite clever like that, do you know what I mean? I always thought of E.T. as being about E.T, yeah, but when I saw it again today, it just boils down to following a family and an alien's just turned up. And I love the way Spielberg's so good at putting those little comedic touches in, like when the older brother and Elliot are arguing, calling him a nerd, penis breath, and the mum's trying to control him. And the thing is, for a film that it's not all action, is it, Declan? We see the I assume they're FBI, yeah.
Just call them government.
Government,
shady government people.
Men in Black type characters. We see them at the start, and if you didn't see the film, if you hadn't seen the film before, Declan, you're kind of sitting there thinking, is this going to be E.T. goes off into the city and it's about him hiding and the agents trying to find him? It never transpires to be like that. At the end it does, but it's more like the whole comedic effects of him hiding in the cupboard with the little wig on and shit like that, and like watching TV and using that spelling thing.
So I love the fact that he builds his little contraption, his way of communicating with his friends back up in space, wherever they are, out of, what is it, an umbrella, one of those annoying little spelling things, and like an extra sketch, whatever, slams it all together like MacGyver, and he's chatting to his friends back home. We don't know if it's worked. E.T.'s off sick. The brother Michael goes and finds him, and they bring him home. And this poor mum, you've got to think, when she walks in and E.T.'s on the bathroom floor, and poor little E.T.'s like, I felt well bad, and I was like, poor E.T.
Yeah.
And the poor mum gets introduced to the fact that aliens exist. There's one in her bathroom that her children are hanging around. And then the government burst in like 2 seconds later. Because I know we've had like an hour and 40 minutes to get used to the fact that aliens exist and E.T.'s knocking about the house. She has no idea the whole film. Like, she's just been strutting about, like getting ready for Halloween and shit. In any other film, even a grounded, happy family film like this, the government guys would be completely nefarious. But the fact that Keys, as he's known as in the script, he never really gets a name, but the guy who, jangling the keys at the start, looking for E.T., and turns out to be, I guess, like the head of government agency that's unnamed that looks for aliens, he just wants to see an alien. He sort of says, he visited me when I was a child and I just want to see him again. I don't know if he specifically means literally this alien race or this particular E.T., or if just he had, I don't know, maybe saw a life form or a spaceship or something at some point in his life. But I just love the fact that that inner kid comes out of him, where he's just in it for the magic. He's not a nefarious government guy. He's in it. He's in it for, wow, the wonder of aliens do exist and I get to see them. And
Elliot, I don't think that he was left here intentionally. But his being here is a miracle, Elliot. It's a miracle. And you did the best that anybody could do.
He doesn't even try and stop him in the most iconic scene, like you're alluding to. The kids cycle off with E.T. and end up hovering and elevating across the valley and in front of the sun and the moon. And he doesn't want to stop him. He just wants to go and see E.T. one last time before he leaves.
You know, the scene when they're dying, both dying, and then obviously you see Elliot coming back to life, and then you kind of know that means E.T.'s going to die. I legit, when I first watched it, I'm not ashamed to say, as a kid, I cried twice. When I thought E.T. was dead, when they like bagging him up, and later when he flies off, I cried. Still to this day, as a 32-year-old man, that bit at the end where he goes off and goes, I'll be here, and like that, it just fucking like I could have a heart of stone, but it just gets to me every fucking time.
It's the bit where they're like an old couple hand in hand in the hospital beds, and when he's like, Elliot, stay, and and then he starts breaking the telepathic link, which kills E.T. and revives Elliot, and you're like, no, E.T., and you think he's going to die. And it's pretty traumatizing as a kid, where they proper like bag his body up and shit, and you're like, oh fuck. Question: why do you think E.T. comes back to life?
Well, he gets ill because he basically needs to go home. Is that the crux of it?
I don't know. See,
it doesn't tell you.
I mean, if I was naked and out in the woods all night, I'd probably be sick in the morning.
Yeah.
Or is it the fact that I'd assume Elliot's not the first person who's had this telepathic link with, so maybe every one of their species shares that telepathic link. I mean, part of you would think, oh, maybe it's the fact that Elliot said, I love you, E.T. That brought him back. But I think it is the fact that his mate got the message, turned around, started zipping back.
Yeah.
And that's what started bringing him back to life. But it's just nicely tied in with this timing of Elliot confessing his love to an alien creature he's known for 2 days.
I think it is the telepathic link because, you know, he was still grey, but his heart was like lighting up. He says, oh, they're coming, and then he's like, home, 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 and he gets all excited. So I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one, actually.
There's a lovely nod to one of his good friends and fellow director George Lucas when, in the moment where E.T. and the gang have gone out trick-or-treating and E.T.'s got his little ghost costume on, which, by the way, the mum should have noticed that is not shaped like my daughter. When they're walking past the person in the Yoda costume, he starts looking at E.T. as if he recognises him.
Yeah.
And E.T. looks back at him.
And
it was definitely like
home.
Yeah. And it was definitely like a little nod to the directors winking at each other. And it actually got returned later in The Phantom Menace, where you see the big council of aliens all together. In a far corner, you can apparently see a group of ETs.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a picture, yeah. And then earlier on, the older brother starts doing a Yoda impression as well, doesn't he? So, like, yeah, you can see that. But this is, in my eyes, where we get to the most iconic scene. Like, I was thinking, Declan, sometimes I watch films where, obviously, we never got to see it in the cinema because it came out before we was even born. And, like, there's certain scenes I see, and I just think, transport me to the cinema, me watching the film for the first time and seeing that scene play out in front of me. And I just imagine the audience members when it came out, and it's not like the internet when everything gets spoilt these days. You know, imagine you're sitting there and you're thinking, fuck, the police have got him, man. Like, this is going to end, and all of a sudden, he levitates it, man. I can imagine being there as an audience member being like, wow, man.
Even the biggest cunt would start clapping.
Yeah, like, you know, even with the John Williams score that burst out into life, the kids' bewildered faces. Obviously, looking at the special effects when they're actually in the air, let's not talk about that.
It's not great, yeah.
Because it's a madness, it's not great.
Maybe touch up that bit if you're going to do something.
Yeah, but like, just that whole thing of the way he levitates it, you know, it's iconic. The red hoodie he's wearing, like, up, him wrapped in the sheet, like, all around him. It must have been incredible.
It's a fairy tale for the 20th century. Yeah. And we're leading into the final scene where, with any other director, it should be shit, because it's just a long, drawn-out goodbye. Nothing particularly happens. There's no real more adversity or obstacles. It's just a long, drawn-out goodbye. But it's fucking brilliant because of the music, the acting, everything that's built up to this point, and seeing the other little ETs come out of the spaceship, and like you said, the immortal lines of
I'll be right here.
ET's cute, weird old woman smokes 200 cigarettes a day voice, And it's just perfect, man. I wanted to like go out and give money to homeless people and fucking play with puppies afterwards. You just feel good about life.
And there's so many little brilliant touches. Spielberg does that so well. The little touches that you might not notice first time, but you notice later. Like when the dog runs up to like run into the spaceship to go and see E.T.
Yeah.
And then he pulls him back. Still to this day, I just can't watch it without like welling up. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where would you rate this in Spielberg's film?
I mean, it'd definitely be in the top 5, maybe top 3. But it's funny because you were saying about how your mum loved it as well. And that's the thing, is it's not just that it's a family film. Like, forget the fact that it's a family film and what those connotations mean. It's a film that everyone loves. Like, your mum's no film connoisseur. She's not like, she doesn't even like films in general on a basic level. But everyone likes films to an extent. Same with my mum. Even they love it. When the film went to Cannes, it got a standing ovation, which is rare at Cannes. Like, they're known for booing films when they don't like them, let alone giving a standing ovation. They're cunts at Cannes. They loved it. The critics loved it. Even Richard Attenborough, who ended up winning the Oscar for Best Movie for Gandhi that year, said that he felt E.T. should have won it instead. Everyone fucking loved this film. It's one of the few films where it's just absolutely across the board has absolute love.
I guess the mark of how good this film is. I have seen this film, I've watched it twice for this review, 20 times now. And that's not even an over-exaggeration, by the way. That's not me saying it. And I still get the same emotions that I got watching it the first time, the 20th time. That, for me, is the mark of how good a film is. Later on in life, imagine my kid as a little kid. Oh, I need to show you E.T. Imagine it like you said about Sophie. I can't wait to show this to my kids. E.T. is one of my favourite films of all time. I think it's as near perfect a film you can get, shot by shot, frame by frame, ever made.
100%. I'm not even going to insult everyone's intelligence by asking if you recommend it or justifying why I recommend it. It is clearly one of the greatest films of all time. A pleasure to watch. I could easily go watch it right now back to back. So that's an easy recommendation for E.T.